Thank you all for joining us for our first Lunch and Learn of the year. My name is Fredye, and I'm the Membership and Grants Coordinator here at the Columbus Museum. Today, Rebecca Bush, the museum's Exhibitions Manager and Curator of History, will be sharing with us some recent acquisitions to the collection that relate to women's history in the Chattahoochee Valley. I hope you have a lunch or a snack or something to enjoy while we also fill our intellectual appetite. Please send your questions to me in the chat for the Q&A at the end of Rebecca's presentation. And before we get started, I just wanted to give a sincere thank you to our members whose support ensures that the museum can create member-sponsored events and programs like this for everyone. We look forward to having more Lunch and Learns, and we're very glad that Rebecca could kick us off with timely content. So without further ado, Rebecca Bush.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm really excited to give this presentation for Women's History Month and highlight some new stories from our collection. As Shiv noted, our members help make these programs possible, and they also help make these new acquisitions that we're going to be talking about today possible. So if you're interested in more information on that, you can always go to our website or reach out to Shiv directly. And I will go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, screen share successful. Yes, Shiv, thumbs up. Yes, thank you. I was on a webinar yesterday and someone was saying no matter how many times we do it, we always need the screen share confirmation. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit just to give you some background on what the program is here. So what we're going to, I've done this on this. Shiv, can you confirm that we're still just seeing my PowerPoint, or are you getting the secondary screen as well?
We're getting your secondary screen as well.
Okay, let me doing this on two screens, which I haven't done before. Let me see if I can do a new share. How about now?
Now it's just the PowerPoint.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for bearing with me, y'all. I'm so used to doing these at home, and I actually get to be in my office today. So what I'm going to talk about today is maybe some slightly lesser known stories, but also a few familiar faces. So I think this is true of every Women's History Month, whether we're thinking about an international, national, state, local level, you name it, there are always kind of the greatest hits of women's history that we hear about a lot. And those women are very important and deserve the accolades and recognition that we get. But one of the challenges of sharing and talking about women's history is that for so long, women's contributions were not considered to be especially important or noteworthy, or they were made secondary. And so we are constantly discovering and learning about new stories of women's history, or rediscovering important historical figures from our past. And so what I want to do today is give a new twist on some favorites that you may know, shed some light on some new figures that you may not have heard of before, and then also talk a little bit about the true importance of everyday history, especially when we talk about women's history, and that it does not always have to be the big names, the great names that we talk about. That everyday history, the lives of everyday people, including our lives now, are important and significant as well. So our first figure that we're going to talk about is not an unknown figure by any means. Many of you will recognize that this is Ma Rainey, and she was born here in Columbus in 1886. She made her debut on the stage of the Springer Opera House when she was 14 years old, and then she began traveling and touring, both with her husband initially, and then after they divorced, she started her own band, which she called her Georgia Band, and she toured extensively throughout the South and the Midwest before ultimately returning to Columbus in the early 1930s and retiring here, but you might want to put retiring in quotes because she actually owned and managed two theaters. So even in her retirement from her entertainment career, she was still an active businesswoman. She's gotten a lot more attention this past year because of the release on Netflix in December of the film Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I've got the poster for it there with Viola Davis and Chadwick Boseman. It's gotten a lot of awards love recently, including Golden Globe and Oscar nominations. And as it says there in the poster, everything comes out in the blues. She is known as the mother of the blues, and also a mentor to other female blues singers who came after her, most notably Bessie Smith. So something that is sometimes a little bit frustrating about Ma Rainey is that she had a very active career from about 1900 through the late 20s. But because of the limitations of recording technology, namely that there wasn't any early in her career for recording and mass distributing audio, we don't really get audio recordings of her voice until the 1920s. And anyone who heard her sing earlier in her life and then heard her sing in the 20s or heard her voice on these recordings agreed that there was some diminishment of her vocal quality at that point in her life, that even though what we're hearing on these recordings from the 1920s is so very striking and soulful and oftentimes powerful to us, certainly full of character and life, that she's not actually in full voice. If we'd been able to hear her when she was 20 years younger, the power of her music would be that much more evident to us. But she does become a very popular Paramount recording artist in the 1920s. And this is actually one of Paramount's first ventures. They're a really familiar name to us now. But in the 20s, they really got their start by releasing music long before TV or movie production. And so right at the end of last year, we were very fortunate to acquire this Paramount record and album sleeve. And so you can see there is Ma Rainey's Dream Blues, and there's a B-side, which escapes me right at the second. But I really want to bring your attention to this album sleeve because I think it's really fascinating to think about this in terms of the album art that we're all used to today. So you can see here that this sleeve says it's the popular race record. Race records or race music was the term in the early 20th century for music created by African Americans. And what's interesting about this sleeve is that it is kind of universal for all these African American musicians that we see here. So we have Ma Rainey, and you with the pen and ink drawing of her there, and you can already see that she's identified as the mother of the blues. But we also have Ida Cox, who they identify as the uncrowned queen of blues, which is a really interesting distinction. I need to know who could crown her, if not Paramount. Alberta Hunter, the brightest star of the race, the Norfolk Jazz Quartet, the greatest novelty quartet the race has ever produced. Lovey Austin, premier woman blues pianist of the race, and Edmonia Henderson, melodious blues singer. And then on the reverse side of this sleeve is a description of kind of a listing of a lot of the different albums you could buy by these musicians. And so this isn't just an album sleeve to help keep the records safe. It's very much a it's advertising, right? Well, you think you're interested in Ma Rainey, and you can see they've transferred that pen and ink drawing to the album itself. So it's very evident, yes, this is Ma Rainey, this is what she looks like. But if you're interested in her, you might also be interested in Lovey Austin, or you might be interested in Edmonia Henderson. Lovey Austin, in fact, played on a lot of Ma Rainey's records. She released her own music, but she was also playing in the bands for a lot of these blues artists at this time. So to me, it's really interesting to think about this as a forerunner of the album art that becomes so essential in the mid 20th century and that we still pay some attention to today, even with the advent of streaming. Every album or every single that comes out still has some kind of art associated with it. And I also think it is interesting to note here that with the exception of the jazz quartet, all these blues musicians that are being highlighted are women. And a lot of times I think it is easy, especially in the later 20th and early 21st century, a lot of the iconic blues musicians that you might come up with if someone just stopped you on the street and asked you to name a blues musician, you might come up with B.B. King, for example. And a lot of those figures that we associate with the blues now are men. So it's really interesting to see 100 years ago, it was women who were leading the vanguard, and this Ma Rainey chief among them. Switching gears a little bit, we are going to the bench and we're going to talk about Ruth McCombs. So Ruth McCombs was born in Georgia. She was born to parents who really wanted a boy, and they had planned to name their boy Rufus. When Ruth arrived, she was not a boy, she was a girl, but instead of going in a whole new direction, they just adapted the name Rufus and turned it into Ruth. She attended the University of Georgia Law School and was one of the only women to graduate at that time. She attended during World War II. And after she graduated, she obtained a job with the Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C. Over time, she got married, she had a child, and she left the workforce for a while to raise her daughter. But when she chose to return to the workforce, it was in Columbus in 1969 when she helped establish the Columbus Legal Aid Society. And this was the first legal aid group that was ever started in Columbus. As you may know, the purpose of legal aid is to help provide affordable legal services to people who might not be able to afford what you might think of as a typical high dollar law firm. But say you have a dispute with a landlord, or you have a misdemeanor offense that you need representation in court for, or you just need some legal advice. Maybe you need help drafting a will, for example. A legal aid society, legal aid groups can help with a lot of that. And so establishing that kind of group in Columbus was a real help for all kinds of residents at that time here in Columbus. In 1975, Ruth McCombs decided to take a leap, and she campaigned against 3 very well-respected men for the position of municipal court judge. Perhaps surprisingly, she not only won the seat, but she won it decisively. With her win, she became not just Columbus's first citywide woman to be an elected official, but she was also the first elected woman judge in the state of Georgia. So this happens in 1975. It's the height of the women's rights movement that is occurring in the 60s and 70s, and her win is really noticed not just in Columbus, but across the state. She eventually advances to the state court in 1978, and then she won a Superior Court seat in 1982. This is actually an image of her being sworn into that seat on Superior Court. And she's stayed there for 11 years until she retired in 1993 from that position, although she did choose to work as a senior judge for the state of Georgia for several years. So we were fortunate to acquire these 2 images of her last year from an archive of Ledger Enquirer photos. Several of the images I'll show you today were acquired during that purchase, again, made possible by members. And it's really great to be able to talk about Judge McCombs in our collection. I'm always seeking to highlight the stories of women, talk about trailblazing women and everyday women, and Judge McCombs is definitely a trailblazer, not just for women in Columbus, members of the legal profession in Columbus, but also really statewide in helping to change people's perceptions of what a state court judge or superior court judge in Georgia could look like, that a superior court judge in the state of Georgia can be a woman and can be a very successful and well-respected woman. Sticking with the topic of first, I want to highlight Rose Strong. She is seen here on the left in the image of the two women, and then also on the right, preparing for her day. So Rose Strong became the first Black woman elected to Columbus's City Council in 1984. And the image on the left is actually from the night of her initial election from her victory party. She's standing there with Barbara Boynton, who was a worker on the campaign. And we posted this image on social media a few weeks ago, and a couple of Miss Boynton's daughters actually reached out to us and said, "That's our mom. We're so excited to see this." So it's really great to be able to make those connections. And I just love seeing the joy on these two women's faces that they've worked really hard and they were successful. So Rose Strong serves a couple terms on Columbus City Council. One of her signature programs was creating more services and access to services for the homeless in our community. She recognized that this was a challenge, not just in any one part of Columbus, but throughout the city as a whole, that there were real challenges with people experiencing homelessness. And so she made that a focus of her service on city council. And the image there on the right is actually of her reading the newspaper before a city council meeting. I think it's really easy to picture her trying to make sure she is absolutely caught up on all the day's news before she goes into this council meeting, so that she has the most up-to-date information and can do the best possible job of advocating for her constituents. After her service in Columbus, she was actually appointed to serve in the first President Bush's administration in Washington, D.C. So she served in that administration for a few years. And she is now a leader in the state Republican Party in Washington State. So she went from Washington, D.C. to Washington State. More first, but moving away from elections for a second, I want to talk about public safety officers. So we have in our collection, not a recent acquisition, but an acquisition from the early 2000s, the uniform as well as the image of one of Columbus's first women police officers, Ina Ruth Wallace Early. And this is from, I believe, 1971, and she and another woman were the first to be promoted from the rank of meter maid. So in other words, female police officers who strictly walked around checking parking meters and giving parking tickets, to actually being promoted to being able to work in the department as a regular patrol officer. So you can see the pieces of her uniform here. The shirt and tie are reproductions, but the skirt is original. You see the patch and the badge and the name tag on her shirt there. You can also see, if you look closely right here, kind of in the center of her tie, the tie clip there, that is a pair of handcuffs. No, we did not add that just for fun. That was actually part of the Columbus Police Department uniform at that time. So we've been really grateful to have this in our collection. We were able to have it on view last year in our And So She Did, Women of the Chattahoochee Valley exhibition, which made me really excited last year to be able to add to our collection this image of Mary Hatcher. So Mary Hatcher becomes the first female firefighter in 1978. And I want to read a little bit from a story that was published about her at that time in the Ledger-Inquirer. This is actually one of the pictures that would have accompanied that story. Mary Hatcher was 21 years old when she joined the Columbus Fire Department. She was a former Metra driver. The article included the note that she was 5'3.5", which is maybe not entirely the kind of thing we would hopefully publish about a woman today, is that old school model of measurements and height. But it is interesting to note that this was not a particularly tall woman. In some ways, she is much shorter than many of her colleagues. And many of her colleagues recognized that and pointed it out to her. And she shared with the Ledger, quote, "One of her colleagues in particular told me he'd be watching me closely. He said that he felt a fire station is no place for a woman. He didn't want me there, and he said he detested the idea. But she also noted, let them step up and find out if I'm strong. I am, and they're also going to find out that I'm determined. And determination has a lot to do with it. I'm physically well, and I can handle myself. She worked at Station 5 in the Fire Prevention Bureau. She's pictured there outside the station. And interestingly, when the reporter asked her about being the first woman firefighter in the department, being a significant first for the city, she answered, I never thought about it. That means nothing to me. I only think of it in terms of wanting to be a firefighter, and that's the only way. So a really great example of dedication to the job there and not becoming too fixated or caught up on the historic nature of her accomplishment, but trying to just do the job to the best of her ability, which is often what women who experience historic firsts talk about, because they recognize that all eyes are on them. So if you're one of those women listening and you feel a lot of pressure to represent, to do your best at all times, you feel like all eyes are on you, know that there are many who have come before you who have felt the same way and succeeded, and we all support each other. So leadership comes in a lot of different faces and areas and platforms, and it doesn't always involve being an elected official. Sometimes it involves questioning the established laws of your time. And so this is an image that may be one of my very favorite acquisitions of 2020. And it depicts several young people who were arrested for their role in a protest to desegregate Columbus's public bus system. I do want to point out that these were not city buses, that they were independently owned by an individual at that time, but they were the bus system for the city. The city of Columbus ran no buses of its own. It wasn't like the Metro system today. It was a little bit different. So in 1961, a couple sit-ins in the summer of 1961, in July, a couple sit-ins took place to integrate Columbus's buses. The bus system here adhered to the same system that is probably familiar to many folks from Rosa Parks and the Montgomery bus boycott, which is that the front of the buses were reserved for white passengers, and African American riders were supposed to only sit in the back of the bus. So in July 1961, several Black young people who had been trained by members of SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee that was so involved in civil rights work throughout the South, boarded several buses in downtown Columbus and sat at the front of those buses. And 6 of them were arrested and charged with breaking state law for the state of Georgia, regulating seat placement of persons on public transportation. So here we have 3 of these young people being escorted away. And we know that Mary Ogletree is in this image. We also believe Vivian Warren is in this image. And not pictured in this image, but one of the other young women arrested at that time was Bunkie McClung, better known now as Bunkie McClung Clark. They got on the bus at 10th Street and 5th Avenue and were arrested just a block later. A couple others were arrested for sitting on a bus at 12th Street and Broadway, so right in the heart of downtown. We have a couple other images of this incident from other angles, and you can see what doesn't show up in this picture is there is quite a crowd of spectators, both white and Black, watching this arrest take place. This is a favorite image of a lot of staff at the museum. We love the way that these women are in the front of this movement, both literally and figuratively, that they have worn their best clothes for the occasion. They are dressed nicely. They are representing themselves and their community, and they are proud. There's a lot of pride that I see in their stride. If they felt any fear, they're certainly not showing it here. It is an image of real strength and poise. And again, often the civil rights movement is a historical movement that the men tend to take the headlines. Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, John Lewis, and those were all amazing figures that we should all learn about and be very familiar with. But women played really important roles in these movements too, and so it's great to be able to highlight that locally. Switching gears a little bit, sometimes as museum curators, we all have objects in the collection that are our favorites, that are unique, and this is one of them for me. So this is an image of Juanita, Carr, Owen, Brawner. She grew up in Columbus. She later moved to Tallahassee and was a math teacher there. Moves back to Columbus during World War II and is a math teacher at Columbus High, before she and her brothers and her husband get together and found a land surveying firm. And if you visit her tombstone in Columbus, you will see that on her headstone, it identifies her as Georgia's first registered female land surveyor. Now, the first woman registered land surveyor is not a category of first that we think about a lot when it comes to women's history. But I think it is interesting to think about in terms of women breaking barriers in industry and in our own fields. So even though that may not in some ways seem like a huge historical first that changed the lives of everyone, I think it is easy to see that when she went to meetings or when she was out in the field doing her work, that seeing a woman in that role enabled other women and girls to think, oh, I can do that. I can be a land surveyor too. You know, there's a saying that representation matters, and I think that's true in all ways about all kinds of things. I think that's definitely true of Juanita here as well. So this is a fun story. In 2003, Juanita, who was quite elderly at that time, and her daughter chose to donate some articles of clothing from their family to the museum, including the pants that you see here. And the story that Juanita Brawner and her daughter told us at that time was that these were kind of work breeches, work pants that she wore in 1928 when she went on a trip across the western United States, that she traveled out to California to attend classes at UC Berkeley. But along the way, she and her friends went on this trip throughout about a dozen US states, starting down in New Orleans, Louisiana, dipping down into Mexico, New Mexico, Arizona, up the coast of California, and then coming home through Utah and Colorado. And so that was all that we knew about this story until about 14 months ago when someone reached out to me locally and said, I was at the flea market in Lee County and I bought this group of postcards, and I'm only interested in a few of them, but there's about 80 postcards here that belong to Juanita Carr. And I Googled her and the museum's website came up because you have pants that she wore. Would you like these postcards? And so we very enthusiastically reached back out and realized that these are in fact the postcards that she collected while she was on her trip in the 1920s. So there's about 80 or so in the collection. Most of them were in a scrapbook. So in this one of Zion National Park, you can see the black banding there from where it was originally placed in a scrapbook. There are two cards that were actually sent in the collection. One was sent to her mother from Juarez. The front image is a picture of the Juarez jail. I just really feel like this is a 22-year-old young woman experiencing freedom for the first time and purposely kind of poking at her mother, trying to give her a little bit of question and perhaps about what exactly her daughter is doing. And then there was also a postcard that three of her friends sent her from Yellowstone National Park, where they apparently went, and Juanita was so studious that she stayed in Berkeley to study for her classes. And they said, we wish you could have come. It's really beautiful here. So using that with a little more information, I was able to go back to the Columbus newspapers and find an account of their trip. It was three women, all in their early 20s, from Columbus, who went on this trip in 1928 and then eventually came back at the end of the summer. As far as I can tell, they did not go with a chaperone. They were on their own, which is very cool and a little bit unusual at that time, that they would be able to go out on their own. I think it's really interesting that Juanita Carr also sought higher education at Berkeley. And what we believe, at least, is that she chose to do that because she could not access perhaps the engineering classes or higher mathematics classes that she wanted and needed to be able to pursue what she was really interested in life. And it's very easy for me to think about her being in these Western states with these vast expanses of land and really becoming interested in land surveying as a profession. Another figure who used to be really well known in Columbus, and you don't hear her name as much anymore, is Fredye Marshall. So Fredye grew up in Columbus. She went to Columbus public schools. As her name suggests, I think this may be another example of parents who were interested in a boy and ended up with a girl. So we have this adapted spelling of Fredye with the Y. And Fredye Marshall achieved fairly significant fame outside the city of Columbus as a singer. She performed on Broadway. She released albums and singles. She even gave command performances for royalty in Europe. But when she chose to retire, not unlike Ma Rainey, she chose to return to Columbus. So the image on the right is not an image from our collection. I just wanted to include it so you could see what she looked like in the 1950s when she was truly at the height of her popularity, and what a striking figure she was and how you would have seen her if you bought an album or a single of hers. The image on the left is one taken in the late 60s, early 70s at the Springer Opera House. And this is her actually appearing in a performance at the Springer. So after being on Broadway and achieving great success, she comes back and graces her hometown with her talents. And here she is in the center of this image, and the woman to her left is Emily Woodruff. And if you've attended a production at the Springer or been involved with children's programs at the Springer, you'll probably recognize that name. Emily Woodruff is known in many ways as the founding patron. Some might say the patron saint of the current iteration of the Springer. She was really active and involved in saving the Springer from demolition in the early 1960s and was very supportive of all of its programming, not just its theatrical productions for adults, but also programming for children. And so here the two of them are. They've received an award, some type of recognition there at the Springer. And I think it's just important to note that if you look at the stories of women in the arts in Columbus, women are always at the forefront of those stories. Historic Columbus did a wonderful feature today on Sarah Butler, or Weezy Butler, and her involvement not just in founding and supporting Historic Columbus at the beginning of its life, but all of her involvement all across the city, including at the Columbus Museum. And so when you think about a lot of the cultural organizations or the nonprofits that do so much good work in our region, women have for decades now been the driving force behind those a lot of the time. So that brings us to some of this everyday history that I was talking about that I think is so important. And these are two images that we acquired last year. The one on the left is quite small card, a quite small image that we don't know a lot about, unfortunately. On the back is written the name Alberta. No last name, just Alberta, but it does have a stamp that says 1952 and Ritz Studio, Columbus, Georgia. So we know that Ritz Studio was located on First Avenue. We know that for much of the mid-20th century, it was owned by and primarily served African Americans who would not have been allowed to go to many of the other photo studios in town at that time. And this image is so intriguing. I really wish I knew more about Alberta. I think her face here is very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit, I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit, I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her outfit. I think it could be a business suit, very thoughtful and determined. I love her